A beautiful city by the beach. An escape from the harsher climates of the north.
There's a dead body in one of the units. Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
When a call comes in about a homicide.
Every second, every minute, every hour, every day could be another life.
What they find is just the beginning.
Our eyes met, and then I knew a murderer was in my driveway.
There's a killer on the loose, but can authorities stop them before they strike again?
We have to do everything we can to bring our suspect to justice.
Fort Myers is the commercial center of Lee County, Florida. Between the weather and gorgeous beaches, it is the perfect escape for those looking to get away from the colder climates up north.
Fort Myers, and Lee County specifically, is a beautiful place. People come from all over the country to see the palm trees, the beautiful beaches, the resorts. It's really like a very quaint, beautiful place to travel and bring your family and bring your children with one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Florida.
We've got beautiful beaches, great restaurants, lots of things to do for the family, or if you might be single, it's a great place to live.
Tourism is a great thing here in Southwest Florida, particularly. When I say it has it all, we have everything from spring break, spring training, we have great restaurants. The beaches are second to none, from Boca Grande to Naples, Florida. And the families love to come because it's a very safe environment.
Pamela Hutchinson arrives in Fort Myers in early April 2018. She's in town for a friend's funeral, renting a condo for what is planned to be her 3-day-long stay.
Initially, she arrived, it was April 3rd in the afternoon, and she checked in with a specific credit card.
While Pamela is only in town for the funeral, she manages to get out and see at least a little bit of the city and even meet some new people.
A couple days later, the manager there received a phone call from the room stating, "Hey, I'm having such a great time here in Fort Myers. I want to extend my stay by a couple days."
When Pamela extends her stay, she gives a different credit card number than the one she used to initially pay for the condo, a fact that the manager notices. On April 9th at approximately 8:15 p.m., the manager of the condominium places a call to 911.
911, there's emergency. There's a dead body in one of the units. Okay, tell me exactly what happened. I got a phone call from our answering service that the water had shut down. Everything looked fine except for that room. The master bedroom was closed, but I went back in it and the door was blocked in going into the bathroom. So I just went and grabbed someone to go in with me because I just had an uncomfortable feeling about it. Mm-hmm. And so we just walked in and he peeked his head in and there was a dead body in there.
The 911 call that we received at the Lee County Sheriff's Office starts and begins our investigation.
We initially received a 911 call from the manager who stated that she found a deceased person in one of the rooms there. And so it came in initially as just a normal death investigation. And then obviously as things transpired and more investigation took place, we realized it was a homicide.
When police arrive on scene and begin to investigate the condo, their first step is to secure the body, leaving a more thorough inspection of the scene itself until they know what they may be dealing with.
So what we have is a death investigation unfolding. Now, we get calls like that quite frequently. Upon this one, when we arrive, our detectives begin to work the scene. It's a death investigation, which quickly turns to a homicide.
We found the victim located on the floor in the bathroom of the master bedroom. And the door was actually shut. There was a towel placed at the base of the door. We're assuming to either hide the smell, hide the sound, whatever it might have been. And then also there was a towel that was actually draped over the victim as well.
The investigators discover that Pamela Hutchinson has been shot and left covered up by a towel in the bathroom.
So our detectives begin immediately working the scene, and they find our victim with apparent gunshot wound to the torso.
Cause of death was ruled homicide with a gunshot wound, and so what we found in the bathroom itself was specifically a pillow that had been used to muffle the sound. There was a gunshot defect in the pillow, and there was soot around it, which is indicative of close contact when a firearm was shot. And along with that, obviously, it appeared as if the victim had been there for a while, based upon the decomposition of the body.
Inside of Pamela's bathroom, fragments of a bullet are found in the ceiling, potentially matching Pamela's fatal wound.
Further investigation revealed, and we were able to recover a projectile that we later submitted for forensics testing. The room itself, pretty well kept, but it appeared, based upon my initial investigation, that it looked as if there was two people that were actually staying in the room, the master bedroom and then also a second bedroom as well. It looked like someone had been staying or at least stayed the night there.
Pamela's toothbrush is found in the bathroom sink. Police theorized that she's ambushed while brushing her teeth.
We did not notice any signs of a struggle. We didn't notice any sort of defensive marks on the victim. We did notice as we were going through the rooms and the condominium there that it appeared the victim's personal belongings, like her wallet, her personal identification, driver's license, and keys had all been removed from the condo.
This incident really rocked our county. I mean, people were worried. I was getting calls from the general public and the community saying, listen, should we be worried?
There's a killer on the loose, and authorities are going to have to act fast to stop them from striking again.
We knew we had our work cut out for us, and the safety of the public is, our utmost priority. And so that put a lot of pressure on us.
There's a lot of things unfolding, and we're entrenched, working immediately, as we always do, leaving no stone unturned, on a fact mission to find out we have a killer on the loose.
We saw our victim and then also our suspect together. It looks like they were close friends.
It's an eye-opening thing for most people. When you see the video, it's disturbing. There's a wolf in sheep's clothing standing right next to her.
Fort Myers, Florida is a beautiful vacation destination. Pamela Hutchinson arrives in the city in early April. Pamela calls the front desk and extends her stay because she's having such a nice time in the city. Unfortunately, what begins as a trip to her friend's funeral ends with her needing a funeral of her own when she's found murdered in the condo bathroom with a bullet wound through her torso.
The thermostat was turned down to a low degree, something that normally it wouldn't be turned down to. And based upon our investigation, we believed it to be hopefully hiding the smell and or keeping people away from the incident that happened in the room, and hopefully giving the suspect time to get away before something was found.
A dead body decays at a slower rate when kept in colder temperatures. Not only does this keep the body more intact, but smells associated with dead bodies are a result of that same decomposition. A low thermostat isn't enough to prevent a body's decay, but it can slow it down if the room is made cold enough.
And so me being the investigator, I didn't want to just be pigeonholed into thinking one thing. What came to my mind was, okay, was this a robbery gone bad? Was this a domestic violence situation? Was this a love triangle? All those things crossed my mind.
The missing possessions begin to paint a picture for investigators. Could it be that Pamela's murder is actually a robbery gone awry?
Our initial thought was, we didn't want to rule anything out.
Lacking signs of a struggle can often mean that the victim knows their assailant. Further investigation reveals that Pamela is recently divorced, potentially opening up the case to another suspect. As friends and family are interviewed, it becomes apparent that their involvement is highly unlikely.
We quickly learned that anyone related to our victim was not going to be our suspect.
Anyone close to Pamela speaks only in praise of her.
Caring, loving, outgoing, just the nicest person in the world. She would do anything that she could for you. She'd give you, her shirt off her back if you needed it.
The investigators question the condominium's manager for any information she may be able to provide about Pamela's stay.
We got with the management there, and we knew that they had video surveillance, and then we also knew that you needed a key card to swipe in and out of the room.
The manager allows them to access the surveillance footage, as well as keycard logging information for the building.
And so we began reviewing the video at the marina there, and then also the key card to see when people came and went from the room.
As the investigators go over the surveillance footage, they're able to find Pamela's arrival, followed by various times where she's seen with the same woman, a woman who looks conspicuously like herself.
We were able to find our victim when she arrived a few days earlier to that, and then throughout the time we noticed that she was with her friends who she was supposed to meet there at Fort Myers Beach. But then we also noticed another blonde-haired female, similar physical description to our victim, coming and going as well.
This same person keeps coming up when Pamela is seen in the footage, giving the case its first concrete suspect.
We see our suspect befriending people, specifically our victim, in a bar. She looks like anyone's relative, very non-threatening. She looks like someone you'd walk up to, you'd talk to, because there's no threat that would be apparent. And it makes it very easy for her to befriend her victim. It's disturbing. We start to review hours of video surveillance so that we can piece this investigation together. We see an elderly woman, blondish gray hair, walking out and taking our victim's vehicle. We realize that she took the identification of our victim. We're starting to work this and piece together hours of surveillance to identify a suspect. Again, killer on the loose. We want to make certain we do everything we can to prevent that person from killing someone else.
Along with all the information that the investigators are able to glean from the surveillance footage, the condominium manager gives them another possible clue. She tells them about how Pamela extended her stay a few days ago, but using a different credit card than the one originally used.
She didn't think anything of it at the time, but once our investigation started taking place, she realized that it was a different credit card number that was used from the first time. And so that obviously gave us pause to think, okay, we're on the right track. I believe it to be our suspect made the phone call. She, in a sense, had assumed the identity of the victim and was using her personal information to extend her stay to give her, I believe, more time to plan her escape.
Well, the initial theory when we arrived at condo was, obviously, it's a death investigation. Immediately, we realized it's a homicide. Our detectives work tirelessly around the clock. When they get called out like this, again, this is like an all-hands-on-deck situation. The last thing we want in this beautiful community, where people from all over are vacationing, is a killer on the loose. So we do everything we can immediately. We deploy all resources, and we begin to unravel what we know is an absolute homicide.
Pamela Hutchinson has come to the city of Fort Myers for a funeral. Days after she is originally meant to leave, she's found dead in her condo's bathroom, draped in a towel and with a gunshot wound in her torso. An investigation into the condominium's surveillance footage reveals that Pamela spent time with a woman of similar physical description to herself. And after this woman is seen taking Pamela's vehicle, she becomes the homicide case's lead suspect. After working through the surveillance footage, the next step is to try to identify the woman that is seen with Pamela. To do this, investigators go over Pamela's financial records from her time in Fort Myers in search of anywhere else the two may have gone together.
We had assistance with our economic crimes unit who did some digging into her financial institutions, and we found that she had actually used her card at the restaurant there, so then that's why we paid them a visit and were able to get the video surveillance from there as well.
Detectives are shocked by what they see on the restaurant's surveillance footage.
We saw our victim and then also our suspect together. It looks as if they have known each other for a long time. Looks like they were close friends, even though based upon our investigation we knew that they were not, or they had just met recently.
Our victim has no idea there's a wolf in sheep's clothing standing right next to her, and our suspect is premeditated, and she has the ability to carry out the act of a homicide. It's an eye-opening thing for most people. When you see the video, you say, that's the last thing I ever would have thought our suspect was going to do, had planned to do, nor could she carry it out.
With the evidence at hand, investigators are able to piece together a version of what might have occurred during Pamela's trip. She arrives in town on April 3rd and is approached by their suspect on April 4th. The two become fast friends, but that relationship ends just as fast as it begins.
The night of April 5th, we see them both returning to the Marina Village at Snug Harbor, together going back towards the room.
Within approximately an hour after Pamela being seen on the surveillance footage for the last time, the suspect is seen exiting her condo alone.
We actually, again on video surveillance, were able to see around 8:30 p.m. on August 5th of 2018, the suspect come back out to the elevator landing area. And it appeared to me as if she were upset, very distraught. She might have even been crying. And at that point, we never saw our victim again on video surveillance. It was only our suspect.
It's believed that Pamela's murder takes place between these sightings.
She came and went over the course of the next, 12 to 18 hours, I would say, coming and going from the room down into the parking lot. She was taking bags out of the room. She was also bringing bags up into the room.
As the investigation looks further into the mysterious suspect, more sightings come up around the Fort Myers area. She is seen assuming the identity of Pamela Hutchinson, both at the bank and at a convenience store's ATM.
She appeared like she knew what she was doing. She seemed nice, but she also, looking back, was trying to conceal her identity, not really making eye contact with the teller and just kind of keeping her head down, not making too much conversation. But based upon interviews with those at the bank, they didn't really see anything out of the ordinary. They compared the identification. They just maybe assumed that this person may have put on some extra weight, maybe changed her hair color, whatever it may be, but nothing serious.
Pamela's similar appearance to the suspect is a potential motive for the homicide. With the stolen IDs and credit cards, the plan appears to have been identity theft.
We were able to locate the victim's vehicle, but then also we were able to find that the suspect had a vehicle of her own as well. And upon viewing the video surveillance, we could see her entering the victim's vehicle using the victim's keys, which she had taken, and transporting items back and forth from the room to the car.
Surveillance footage reveals the suspect getting into a white Escalade with Minnesota plates and moving it from the condo parking lot before returning later to take Pamela's vehicle.
On April 8th, I received a phone call because I was the on-call for the homicide unit from a sergeant of ours on Fort Myers Beach. And prior to that phone call, a BOLA, which is a be on the lookout for, went out to all of our units stating that there was a vehicle of interest that was used in a homicide up in Minnesota, and it provided the vehicle information.
That vehicle is a white Cadillac Escalade.
And so when he called me, he said, hey, I actually found that vehicle here on Fort Myers Beach. It was actually only about a mile away from the condominium. And so I said, okay, tow the vehicle to our evidence facility and I will follow up with the appropriate agency in the morning to see what they want us to do with it. So we, in a sense, had an idea that this female, our suspect now, might be in the area along with her vehicle, which obviously was recovered in the area.
Looking into the Escalade leads to the discovery of their suspect's name, Lois Reese.
My major concern was, is she going to do this again, and when will she do this again? We knew that she had stolen cash that's readily available to her, and she also has a vehicle to make her getaway. And so my initial concern was, we need to find her before she should do this again.
The revelation of Lois's name leads the investigation towards 911 calls from days before Pamela Hutchinson's body was discovered.
Tess Koster is a seasonal resident down here on Fort Myers Beach, but she also spends some of her time up in Minnesota, specifically the city where our suspect Lois Reese is from as well. And so she knew her. She's known her for many years. And prior to us learning about the homicide, she had actually phoned the Lee County Sheriff's Office to say, hey, I had a suspicious incident happen at my house here on Fort Myers Beach.
Lee County Sheriff's Office, how can I help you?
Hi, there's an ATV out for a Lois Reese from Blooming Prairie, Minnesota. She just got out of her 05 white Escalade in front of my house.
I was cleaning my garage that day and had the doors open to the garage, and that white Cadillac Escalade pulled up behind my vehicles. And someone got out in a pink shirt with longer, platinum, almost white hair. And she came around the back of her Cadillac Escalade and our eyes met. And then I knew that was Lois, and a murderer is in my driveway.
Pamela Hutchinson is found murdered by a gunshot wound in a Fort Myers condo after coming into town for a funeral. The investigation reveals a woman who has spent a lot of time with Pamela through her final days. This woman quickly becomes the prime suspect of the case. But when the police discover that this woman is Lois Reese, they learn this may not have been her first murder.
I was cleaning my garage and she pulled up in her pearl white colored Cadillac Escalade right behind my vehicles. And she got out of the car and I just noticed a gal with a pink shirt on. Thought it was somebody inquiring about rentals. And so I stepped forward and that's when our eyes met. I was just in shock. My heart skipped a beat and she just shook her head and looked down like she didn't want me to see her and said, oh, wrong house, and quick got in her Escalade and left. My husband happened to be on the phone with my daughter at that moment. My husband Rod says, Brianna, hang up the phone, you dial the sheriff's department, and we're gonna dial 911 down here. Let them know that Lois is in Fort Myers Beach.
Lee County Sheriff's Office.
Hi, I live in Minnesota. There is a missing person for a warrant out for arrest for possibly killing her husband. And my parents live on Fort Myers Beach down there, and she just drove by their house, and they're freaking out.
Prior to us learning about the homicide, Tess Koster had actually phoned the Lee County Sheriff's Office to say, hey, I had a suspicious incident happen at my house here on Fort Myers Beach, and I know that this lady is suspected of killing her husband up in Minnesota, and she was just doing her best to make us aware of it.
Okay, so she has a warrant, is that what you're saying?
Yes, for the possible murder of her husband and for sure for embezzling charges.
And now we find that our suspect is involved in another homicide in Minnesota, which makes things very challenging for us because now we have dual homicides that are being worked. We don't know where our suspect is. And while we want everyone's assistance, we got to be careful not to compromise anything or give any facts that could hurt this investigation. And I will tell you, speaking regularly to Minnesota and having the ability to have that confidence in a law enforcement partner that we have not met was invaluable for us to solve this crime.
Further investigation into Lois Reese reveals her actions over the past month in Blooming Prairie, Minnesota.
Blooming Prairie, Minnesota is a small town of about 2,500 people, quite close to the Iowa border. A lot of cornfields around, railroad track goes through it. Everyone that lives in that town is very friendly. You know everybody, say hi to them, wave at everybody. It's the type of town where normally in the winter you can leave your car running and run into the grocery store and nobody will bother your car. You don't have to lock your doors in your houses. Very trusting. Lois and Dave were married about 35 years. They had 3 children, super friendly, nice, sweet couple. Dave always was very jovial, had an infectious laugh, loved to tell jokes. He loved to talk about fishing, owned the waxworm farm, so that all went hand in hand. Lois, she was a loving person, did daycare. Many parents in the town of Blooming Prairie had their kids at her daycare. She loved her grandkids. They were at her house quite often and she spoiled them. If you'd run into one or the other at the grocery store or the post office, you could stop and have a nice conversation with either one. That was a night at the Servicemen's Club. We sat with them and invited them to come down to Florida and spend the weekend with us or a week, whatever they decided to do. They do know that we have rental houses down in Fort Myers Beach, so we said we'd make room for them somewhere if they wanted to come and visit.
But after Tess puts out the offer, she never hears about it again. Her and her husband take their regular trip to Fort Myers for the winter. But with their kids and friends back in Blooming Prairie, they begin to hear about strange behavior going on back home.
We started hearing that Dave hadn't been coming to work and that he'd been sick and they didn't know where he was. Lois had told the workers at the wax farm that Dave was on a fishing trip. Well, they saw her in the truck, that Cadillac Escalade that Dave would have taken to the fishing trip. So people started questioning what was going on out there. So we were hearing about this. I would say everyone in town thought at first that maybe something had happened to both Lois and Dave until they started seeing Lois on her own and taking off for the casino by herself. Then everybody started questioning. So that's when the waxworm farm employees called the local police department, and I guess the Dodge County Sheriff's Department also got involved and searched the house and went inside and found him dead in the bathtub. That was approximately 10 days after he had gotten shot.
The homicide cases investigating the murders of Dave Reese and Pamela Hutchinson share many similarities, furthering the theory that they are committed by the same individual.
What I've heard is Dave was laying in the bathtub and he had been shot twice. And one of the shots had went through his forearm and then went through his front like he was trying to protect himself. And the other shot was in his back. And there were towels covering him and towels tucked under doors.
Both victims were found in the bathroom. Both victims had a towel draped over their bodies, and both were shot with what was believed to be a small caliber round.
Then they started asking around town and finding out that she had been acting really funny, and so that's when she started heading south. Stopped at the casino, was spotted there, and then spotted at a convenience store. So we were hearing this whole story that then Dave got discovered, and So we thought for sure that Lois was the one that had murdered Dave.
Lois is spotted several times as she works her way south. First, she is seen in Glenville, Minnesota, where she cashes nearly $11,000 in allegedly forged checks. Next, she is seen in Northwood, Iowa, gambling at the Diamond Joe Casino. She's caught on surveillance one more time before leaving Northwood as she fills up on gas and asks for directions out of the state.
If you want to start heading south, would you take 35 south? Just to keep going on down to the next state?
She isn't seen again until she is with Pamela Hutchinson in Fort Myers.
And that's when I started collaborating with the detectives up in Minnesota who were conducting their own homicide investigation up there. And knowing what she had done there, my concern was, when is she gonna do this again? And so it made me angry and all the more motivated to catch her as soon as I could.
The police officer came to my house and he explained that the prime suspect was Lois Reese for this murder that they had just discovered at Snug Harbor there. I did get called in a few days later then to identify some videos of Lois in the hallway with Pamela, taking money out of an ATM, and I positively identified her.
Authorities know that Lois has a victim type. She's looking for someone she can pass for.
Our suspect wants to find a person that she could kill that looks like her. She wants that identity. She wants to be able to travel wherever she wanted to go out of the state, utilizing our victim's ID.
It certainly was a big fear of mine that she would do the same thing again a third time, and that is what we were trying our best to prevent before it should happen again.
We knew our suspect has a gambling habit. We see her in casinos. She's enjoying her life like nothing happened. Premeditated and ice cold. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day could be another life. Wherever this suspect goes, she has the potential to kill again, and we know this. So we have to do everything we can to protect lives and bring our suspect to justice.
Lois Reese is the prime suspect in the murder of Pamela Hutchinson. But when the Florida authorities begin their search, they discover she is wanted for a possible murder in her hometown of Blooming Prairie, Minnesota, as well. Police from across the country have to work together to find her before she can kill again.
Once we knew and believed that she had probably left the area, once we saw her leave with the victim's vehicle, along with the financial information that we received from the Economic Crimes Unit, we were able to trace kind of her steps going north, what appeared to be out of Florida, and she made a stop in Ocala, Florida, at a Hilton hotel.
She smiles. She gives our victim's ID. Never would you think to question her. You look at her, she looks like anyone's older relative, smiling. Meanwhile, she's a stone cold killer.
Had clothing that belonged to the victim on when she got checked in, and so we have video of surveillance of her basically assuming the identity of the victim to get a room there.
And that's a chilling experience to see that she has killed, now at this point, 2 times, and she's able to walk up to a desk in clear conscience, smile, befriend the person behind the desk, give the victim's ID, and she's on the road to the next place. We were reaching out to the community or anyone nationally that could bring us the tip to bring our suspect to justice.
We were receiving tips from really all over the country of people who think they may have spotted her or seen her somewhere. We were doing everything that we could to make sure and vetting them as best we could to see if it was something that would lead us to her.
And again, we know this suspect has killed at least twice, and the last thing we want is a killer on the loose.
In our video surveillance, when she befriends Pam Hutchinson, our victim, unfortunately, she's smiling. So what does that tell you about her? Okay, she's running, but guess what? She's not changing her appearance. She's living life, one day signing the victim's credit card in her name, the next her own. So this is a stone cold killer.
I was hearing on the news that Lois was the most wanted woman in the United States, and they kept showing pictures of her, especially down here. If you spot this woman, please report it to the authorities.
Really, really nervous now that, hey, did our suspect leave our state, or are they right here looking to kill again? Are they gonna kill in the county over or the state over? So we are all hands on deck. We're utilizing everything in the media that we can release.
Reese's mode of operation is to befriend women who resemble her and steal their identity.
Again, being very cautious not to release any information that could hurt Minnesota's investigation and the Lee County Sheriff's investigations.
Working with outside agencies was a big part of it. We got with our Marshals Task Force to help track her as best we could. We were communicating minute by minute with Minnesota as well, providing them information and vice versa. And then also sending the information that we were able to release out to the media outlets so we could have the general public help us as well.
Lois is spotted several times after leaving Florida, including where she uses her own ID to claim a jackpot prize in a Louisiana casino. Finally, she winds up in South Padre Island, Texas.
I guess the tip came through and she was gambling, having a great time, had a meal. Again, life went on for our suspect. She did whatever she wanted to do. She was smiling. It was as if nothing happened.
Lois was at the Sea Ranch restaurant having dinner at the bar. Someone at that bar noticed her flip of her hair that had been showing on the news over and over again and called authorities and said, "I think your gal is sitting at the bar right now." They found the car in the parking lot around back somewhere and then surrounded the building and went in and got her.
It doesn't appear as if she is taken by surprise in any way. It's almost as if she knew it was coming and her time ran up.
I feel like Lois almost wanted to get caught. She just didn't put up any fight. She just got up and, oh, guess this is the end of my little trip here. Just gave up.
New details have come out to tell us that she was in Texas befriending another unknown female and what appeared to be the same pattern in which would have determined that she would have probably have killed again. So, you know, I couldn't be more happy with the deputies and the investigators in our department. I hope that our efforts, cohesively with the state attorney's office and our federal partners, have brought the result of her going to prison forever.
Police involved in the case from other states fly to Texas after Lois's arrest. While there, they're able to get a warrant to search her motel room.
We executed a search warrant in the subject's motel room. It was full of the bags that we found on video that we saw her taken in and out of the room and into the cars. We also recovered 2 firearms, the 9mm and the .22 caliber, along with a lot of the victim's belongings. We found identification, we found checks, we saw credit cards, which again, all evidence linking her to being our suspect. I do know that the 9mm and the .22 caliber were tested down here, and due to the fragmentation of the projectile, we weren't able to conclusively say that those were the murder weapons, but because of the similarities with what is believed to be the small caliber round, we do believe that one of those is the murder weapon.
It just so happened we had gotten to Blooming Prairie the day that she had gotten arrested in South Padre. And we happened to be meeting some friends and having a beer, and someone yelled, "I think they got Lois, turn up the TV." So they turned up the TV and the whole place cheered. Lois had been caught. You have to realize she took away not only her husband and her kids' father, but she took away a friend of the whole town. Everybody loved Dave.
Lois Reese is extradited to Lee County, Florida, to stand trial for her crimes.
Let's address the matter of the state of Florida versus Lois Ann Reese. All right, Ms. Reese, you're here on a charge of second-degree murder with a firearm, grand theft of a motor vehicle, grand theft, and criminal use of personal identification information.
Prior to going to trial, she pled guilty to all counts in order for the death penalty to not be assessed upon her. And so that was really the end of it. It didn't even make it to trial. Her sentence was life in prison.
But what can drive someone to murder not only their own husband, but also a complete stranger whose identity they try to steal?
I wish that we were able to talk with her. We attempted an interview with her out in Texas, but she invoked her rights. I would have loved to have had a conversation with her to find out more. I think she probably just felt she had no other choice. She had no other alternative, nowhere else to turn to, nowhere else to run to, and she was desperate.
The case of Lois murdering Dave changed the town of Blooming Prairie. People are much more careful. People are locking doors more. I know I myself and my husband, we now sleep with a loaded gun next to our bed, no matter which house we're at. Whether we're in Minnesota or in Fort Myers Beach, it's sure changed my thoughts on making sure things are locked. This did teach me to be much more cautious that people may not be what they appear to be. I always thought Lois was just the sweetest, nicest person. So what happened? And the next person that you talk to that could be a sweet, nice person might change on you.
My biggest thought, as the sheriff, the ball stops with you. You're in charge of everything law enforcement in your county. You never want to be that sheriff or that chief that doesn't do everything possible, crosses every T, dots every I, because it's going to save lives. And in this case, we know our suspect's killed twice, and every second could be a life. So, you sit there and you wonder, you worry. You're always thinking, did I do everything we possibly can? And I got to tell you, I'm very, very proud of our team. Our detectives worked around the clock. They did an amazing job. And for that, the killer comes to justice.